It was the worst pandemic in recent history, killing up to 100 million people, and the Americans even blamed the Filipinos for it. What was the Spanish flu? Mabuhay or in Kapampangan luwid kayo. The 1918 influenza pandemic, also known as the Spanish flu, infected over 500 million people all around the world, or what was then 1/3 of the total population of the earth. 1/3. It happened from 1918 to 1919 with cases in the Philippines lasting up to 1920. At least 50 million and up to 100 million people were killed worldwide, killing more people than World War I or even World War II. In the Philippines alone, 70,000 to 90,000 people died. And in neighboring Indonesia, 1 million perished, while in the United States, 657,000 were killed. And the list goes on. During that time, the Philippines was still a colony of the United States, and the public health sector of the country was undergoing a transition from a system ran by Americans to more Filipino control. The first wave of the pandemic hit Manila in May to July of 1918. The second, deadlier wave broke out in the country in October to December of 1918, while the third wave happened in 1919 to 1920. About 40% of the total population of Filipinos were infected, and it was even worse in remote areas like in the province of Cotabato in Mindanao, where 95% of their population were infected. The Americans criticized the Filipinos for their alleged incompetence for not being able to handle such severe outbreaks. The Americans did not believe that Filipinos were fit for high positions to manage the country's medical and health services. The Americans also enforced their own sanitation standards on the Filipino people as a way to prevent further contamination or outbreaks of diseases, because they strongly believed that Filipinos were contributors to these outbreaks. The Americans blamed the Filipinos, especially the lower class, the workers and the peasants, for the poor living conditions that they live in and for spreading the diseases themselves. They even blamed bad Filipino parenting for the high mortality rate among the children. Up to 30,000 Filipino children aged 2 to 9 died because of the pandemic. The United States blamed poor public health management to the Filipino officials, but in reality, the Filipinos were left behind, understaffed, because the United States government sent most of them to the front lines of World War I. They did not even let the Filipino officials fully take over until 1919, yet they blamed them for mismanaging the outbreak the year before, in 1918. They really believed that Filipinos won't be able to save themselves from the disease if they did not accept and adopt American ways of sanitation. Because apparently, we Filipinos are too dirty and must be cleansed. They even strongly believe that the disease that was spreading throughout the Philippines like wildfire was not from the outside pandemic, but that it was from us, the dirty Filipinos ourselves. In fact, under the Americans, there was no serious effort to properly quarantine and stop the outbreak from the beginning. And the racist blame game doesn't even end there. If you think about it, the Spanish flu wasn't even Spanish at all. Many historians trace the pandemic's viral roots back to Kansas in the United States. It was called the Spanish flu mainly because of xenophobia, and because they'd rather blame the outsiders, the foreigners, than admit anything at all. And this is nothing new in history. Foreigners and people of color are often scapegoated for creating and spreading diseases. And given the soaring incidence of discrimination happening today due to COVID-19, we should remain vigilant against patterns of violence and racism. We should always give our wholehearted support to the hardworking people serving in the front lines. We should keep ourselves well informed and keep our officials accountable. And we should also do our part to take care of the most vulnerable. Because let us not forget that the containment of this pandemic requires all of our collective efforts, just like in 1918. I know it may seem like a daunting task, but This is just a beginning, and we're all in this together, and together we can do it. We've done it before, and we can do it again for our people. So if you're interested in helping in meaningful ways, especially for those who are most vulnerable in this pandemic, join our Bayanihan community response to COVID-19. Visit NAFCONUSA.org for more information. So that is it for me today. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, show your support and please be my patron or get a copy of my book, Takalpong Salamat. See you next time. We're in Tagalog Kita Kits and in Kapampangan, Mikitix.